Okay, if you've been following along and you've watched the Yahtzee tutorial 1 and 2, this should be the last tutorial to finish up the flowchart for Yahtzee. Basically, what we have here is a flowchart for the game of Yahtzee that starts, gives player an option to play, get directions, or quit. Once they have chosen to do either 1, 2, or 3, this flowchart will take them through. We are actually currently need to take this box and create option number 2. And we need to deal with the bottom box, option 1, 2, and 3. So the first thing that I'm going to handle is this option 2. So I'm going to need another text box. So Control C, Control V, drag a text box down towards the bottom, and get an arrow. And the arrow is going to connect to this box and option 2. Grab a number 2. So basically, to get to this box, I would have to have rolled I'd have to roll all 5. Then I would have to choose to roll all the dice again, which would be my second roll. Then I would have to decide to keep some of the dice. I've already handled 1 and 3 options, so I need to handle what would happen if I needed to keep some of the dice. Basically, what would happen would be I would ask my user, what dice numbers would you like to keep? And by copying and pasting this code, I can move on. And of course, once they type in 0, then I know that they're finished inputting the dice that they wanted to re-roll. And again, the dice that they want to re-roll will be the location, either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I guess it would actually be from this text box up here. So they would choose those numbers. We'd store them into a temporary array, probably kept dice might be the name for that. And then I need to tally that kept dice and randomly generate the new dice and display the new dice to the user while incrementing my roll. So basically, it's going to be all of these. So I'm going to copy and paste, but I do need to keep in mind this is actually the user's third roll. And once they have displayed all the new 5 dice, I'm going to give myself a programming note that says the player's turn is over, it finished, and they must go to the display board. Therefore, once I've displayed those all to them, again, remember, they haven't seen all of the dice laid out, so they need to at least see them so they can tell if they have a full house or whatever. And basically what I'm going to do is the same thing I've done up here. I'm going to display their dice total, ask where would you like to store your total, display the board, verify their selection, and go back to the initial roll for the next player. And I'm going to put a green box because as we had displayed in our key above, the green box says it's going to the next player. That way I have a visual representation that I need to handle that. Okay, so I've handled all of, and I'm just giving a little skim here, I've handled all of the scenarios except for the 3 that are located in this bottom box. So roll 2, and I need to come up with all 3 of these options. The neat thing is most of these are already handled. So if my user is here and they want to roll all the dice again, which would be option 1, basically it would look a lot like this box over here, and I might need to modify it just a touch. So I'm actually going to do that now. I'm going to select this box and move it over just a little bit along with the arrow and the number. And I'm going to create another text box, and I actually think this is going to be my last text box. So I'm going to just move that one down here, and I'm going to put, you chose to roll again. To roll all dice again, and I'm going to stretch text box just a bit so it'll fit, and I need to put where I'm actually going to display my dice, and I'm going to increment the roll. This is actually roll 3, so I will put that there, and I'm going to tell them that the player's turn has finished, and display the total out to them, asking them where they would like to store their number. And I'll need a green box as well. And there we go. So how did I get from here? It was actually from this box. Yep, I didn't mean to move the whole thing. So click on the arrow, and that was option number 1. Grab one of these. Then, now that I've rolled all the dice again, option 2, I'm going to keep some of the dice. So let me scan and see what would happen, and I believe that this scenario over here is actually exactly what I need. It's my second roll. So the third roll, and basically I'm going to ask my user which ones they would like to select, store them in the kept dice array, tally and randomize the numbers, give them the new numbers, basically give myself a programming note that it's finished, that player is done, display the total, and where would you like to store the total. So I'm going to pull this down just a touch, and as I said, I like to use Publisher because then I can move these boxes around pretty easily. And I'm actually going to take another arrow and connect from this box over to the other box and give myself option 2. So the last one that needs to be handled is, what if I wanted to keep all the dice? Well, basically, I'd output the dice total to the user, ask them where they would like to store it, or ask them what they would like to store their total, and display the board and verify and go back to the initial player. So it's as easy as taking an arrow and connecting to this box, and that was option 3. So I need to make sure that I have handled all of the scenarios. It's kind of hard to do on a computer, but if I look at a box and make sure that there's at least 3 arrows coming out, there's a 1, there's a 2, there's a 3, here's this box, 1, 2, 3. This box actually has the green dots, so I know that there was no options for that one. And that was 1, 2, and 3. This one's 1, 2, and 3. This one has a green box and a green box. Also, another suggestion would be print out this document, take yourself through the flowchart, highlight with yellow highlighter, and watch where one would go, and highlight that arrow. And you could even go to an online Yahtzee game or the Yahtzee game itself and play a couple times and see if you went through and what options you would have, and making sure that you've tied everything up. If there is anything that I haven't tied up, I will try to put another, as we start the coding, I will put that in as well. But for now, this will be your flowchart, and we'll be ready to program very shortly.